This incident recently happened to me yesterday, and I can't stop thinking about it. I'm still scared about it, and it's making me want to move out of this house completely. I've been living here for only a few days, but what happened last night made me realize that I'm not safe here anymore. It all started when I moved into this new house. I had been looking for a place for a while, and when I found this one, it seemed perfect. It was small, cozy, and in a quiet neighborhood, just the way I liked it. The first few days were fine, unpacking, getting everything in order, adjusting to my new space. Then, a couple of days after I moved in, I met my neighbor. He seemed nice at first, just a normal guy, about my age. We exchanged numbers just in case we needed to get in touch for anything. It was all very casual and friendly. He told me he was going out of town for a business trip, which I thought was strange since we had just met, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Last night, everything changed. I was lying in bed around 9:40 p.m., scrolling through my phone. I wasn't tired yet, so I thought I'd give my neighbor a call to check in. He'd been away for a few days, and I was curious how his business trip had gone. I dialed his number, waiting for him to pick up, but instead, something strange happened. I heard a ringtone. It was faint, almost like it was coming from somewhere close by, but I couldn't figure out where. It sounded exactly like the ringtone I'd heard when he called me the first time. My heart started racing, and I was too stunned to move. The ringtone was coming from my closet. I couldn't believe it. My neighbor was out of town, right? But that ringtone, it was unmistakable. I could feel my blood run cold. How could it be coming from my closet? My body went rigid with fear as I tried to make sense of what was happening. I told myself I was just imagining things, but then the closet door creaked open. It was him. My neighbor stepped out of the closet, looking startled to see me standing there. I couldn't even move. My mind was spinning. How was he in my house? Why was he hiding in my closet? Before I could even say anything, he bolted out the door and ran down the stairs. He didn't look back. I didn't know what to do. My body was shaking, and I felt completely paralyzed. I locked the door behind him and immediately called the police. I was terrified. How long had he been living in my closet? What was he planning to do? When the police arrived, they took me seriously. They searched the house and found evidence of what had been going on. They found his charger, food wrappers, and a makeshift bed hidden deep in the closet. He'd been staying there for days, coming and going when I wasn't around, living in my house without me knowing. They even found out that he had been planning something worse, though they didn't go into detail. They told me it wasn't something I wanted to hear. He had been planning to do something to you, one of the officers said gravely. You're lucky you called us when you did. I still can't process what I've learned. The fact that he had been hiding in my house, right under my nose for an entire week, is something I can't shake. The thought that someone was living in my closet planning something terrible makes my skin crawl. I'm scared to even think about what might have happened if I hadn't called the police. The officers arrested him, but I know that doesn't make everything okay. The truth is, I don't feel safe here anymore. I don't feel safe in this house. The idea that someone could hide in my closet, living in my home without me knowing, is enough to make me want to pack up and leave. What happened last night was more than just a scare. It's a violation of my privacy, my safety, my sense of security. It makes me want to leave this house completely, even though I've only just moved in. I'm still so shaken by it all. I can't look at the closet the same way. Every time I walk past it, I remember the sound of that ringtone, and I remember him stepping out from behind the door. This incident recently happened to me yesterday, and I don't think I'll ever be the same. The fear, the uncertainty, and the violation I feel will stay with me. I don't know how I can live here anymore. I don't know how I can stay in this house knowing what happened in it. I don't think I can stay here any longer. This house is no longer my home. I live in a quiet neighborhood. The houses are close together and everyone knows each other. It's a peaceful place where nothing exciting ever happens, or so I thought. One day, a new neighbor moved in next door. I first saw him early in the morning while I was in my yard. A moving truck was parked in his driveway. The man was tall and thin, and he carried a few boxes inside. "Hi there," I said with a wave. "Hello," he replied with a small smile. He didn't say much, but he seemed friendly enough. Over the next week, I noticed the man outside a few times. I was working in my garden one morning when he walked over. "Nice plants," he said, looking at the flowers. "Thanks," I replied. "I'm Steve. Nice to meet you." He introduced himself, and we started talking. He seemed like a nice guy, a bit quiet but polite. Soon we became friendly. Sometimes he gave me leftovers from his meals, and I gave him some from mine. We even chatted a bit when we saw each other outside. It was nice having someone new around. Then something strange started happening. Every night around midnight, I heard a chopping noise coming from his house. At first, I didn't think much about it. Maybe he was a chef or someone who liked to cook late at night. After a few days, though, I started getting curious. One morning while we were both outside, I asked him about it. "Hey, I've been hearing some chopping sounds at night. What's that about?" "Oh, that," he said with a small laugh. "I'm just cutting up chicken and turkey for Thanksgiving." That answer seemed strange. Thanksgiving was still 2 months away. Why would anyone prepare that early? I thought about asking more questions, but I didn't want to seem rude, so I let it go. The noises didn't stop. If anything, they got louder. Each night I lay awake, listening to the steady thud, thud, thud of a knife cutting into something. It began to bother me so much that I couldn't sleep. One night I decided to find out what was going on. It was just after midnight when the chopping began again. I got out of bed, grabbed a flashlight, and went outside. His house was dark, except for a dim light in the basement. I walked to the back of his house and found the door unlocked. My heart was pounding as I stepped inside. The chopping noise was louder now, coming from the basement. Slowly, I opened the basement door and looked down. The air was cold and the smell was terrible, like rotten meat. I crept down the stairs, trying not to make a sound. When I reached the bottom, I froze. There he was, standing at a table with a large knife in his hand. On the table were pieces of what looked like raw meat. But it wasn't chicken or turkey, it was... I stared in shock, unable to move. Then he noticed me. "What are you doing here?" he said, his voice calm but angry. I couldn't answer. My legs finally started working and I turned to run. "Hey!" he shouted, dropping the knife. I ran up the stairs and slammed the basement door behind me. I locked it, hoping it would hold. Then I sprinted back to my house and grabbed my phone to call 911. Before I could finish dialing, I looked out the window. His house was completely dark. I didn't see him anywhere. When the police arrived, they searched the house, but he was gone. The basement window was broken, and it looked like he had escaped through it. The police found evidence of what I saw, human remains in the basement, but they couldn't find him. To this day, he hasn't been caught. I don't know where he went or if he'll ever come back. But I do know one thing. I can't stay in this house anymore. Knowing what happened next door and that he's still out there is too much for me. Sometimes late at night, I still think I hear that chopping sound. Maybe it's my imagination, or maybe it's not. And when we moved into this house, I thought I was finally getting that. The neighborhood seemed perfect, quiet, safe, almost idyllic. I was excited, but now, looking back, I can't help but wonder if something was always off. Maybe I just didn't notice it at first, or maybe it only started after he moved in next door. His name was Mr. Graves, and he was quiet, too quiet. He had this odd way of appearing at the most random times, always offering a helping hand, always so pleasant. I never thought much of it. He seemed like a nice enough neighbor. I didn't know him well, but I'd smile politely when we crossed paths and exchanged pleasantries. But things started to change. It started with the noises. At first they were subtle, little creaks here and there, sounds that I told myself were just the house settling. But then one night it was different. I was sitting at the dining table trying to eat my dinner when I heard it. The sound of footsteps, slow, heavy footsteps coming from upstairs. But there was no one upstairs, and I was home alone. My husband was on a business trip, and my son was already in bed. I brushed it off. My mind was playing tricks, I told myself. Maybe the wind was causing the house to groan. But then the knocking started. Soft, faint, but undeniable. It came from the windows. It was as if someone was standing just outside, tapping gently against the glass. I rushed to the window, but no one was there. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was nothing, just the quirks of an old house. But that night, the noises didn't stop. They kept coming, whispers, footsteps, tapping. I felt like I wasn't alone, like someone, or something, was in the house with me. Then came the front door. I had just finished eating and was cleaning up when I heard it. The unmistakable sound of a door opening and closing. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't a draft. The door had been opened and someone had stepped inside. My heart skipped a beat. I froze, trying to listen for any sound. "Who's there?" I called, my voice trembling, but there was no response, just silence. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. Without thinking, I ran to the bathroom and locked myself in. My hands were shaking as I pressed my back against the cold tiles, holding my breath, waiting for something, anything, to happen. The seconds felt like hours. The silence was suffocating. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Someone was moving around in the hallway, closer and closer. My heart pounded in my chest. I could feel the tension in the air. Whoever it was, they were coming toward me. I didn't know what to do. I was trapped. I had to act. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find. A small knife from the counter. My hands were shaking so badly that I almost dropped it, but I gripped it tightly, trying to steady my breath. I had to be ready. I had to protect myself. The footsteps stopped right outside the bathroom door. I could feel my pulse in my throat, hear my heart beating in my ears. The door handle rattled slightly, and I braced myself, knife in hand. This was it. I didn't know who it was, but I knew I couldn't just let them come in. And then, to my horror, I saw him. He was standing in the hallway, just outside the bathroom door, looking straight at me. It was Mr. Graves, my neighbor, but this time, he wasn't offering a smile. His face was pale, his eyes wide, almost manic. He wasn't speaking. He was just staring at me. I froze, unable to move. My blood ran cold. And then I snapped out of it. I had to do something. I couldn't let him in. In a burst of panic and adrenaline, I flung the bathroom door open, rushing toward him. Without thinking, I stabbed. The knife connected with his cheek, and he let out a strangled scream, stumbling backward. I didn't stop. I didn't think about what I was doing. I just ran. I sprinted out of the bathroom, down the hallway, and out the back door. I had to get away. My mind was racing, my thoughts a blur. Didn't even know where I was going. I just needed to get out of that house. I ran down the street, my heart hammering in my chest, my breath coming in short gasps. When I finally stopped, I fumbled for my phone, hands trembling, and dialed 911. I could barely speak, my voice a jumbled mess of fear and panic. But they understood. Help was on the way. When the police arrived, Mr. Graves was gone. The house was empty. There was no sign of him anywhere. But the damage had been done. I was left standing there, shaking, unable to comprehend what had just happened. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind wouldn't stop racing. I kept thinking about Mr. Graves, about his strange behavior, about how he'd always been too helpful, too kind. It felt like it was all a mask, something he'd been hiding behind. But why? Why had he done this? Then the notes started. I found the first one in the bathroom the next morning. It was simple, just a piece of paper with my name written on it in messy handwriting. "Hello, Mary. I'm always watching." At first I thought it was a joke, maybe from a friend or a prankster, but then I found more. One in the kitchen, another under my pillow, and another in the bathroom again. Each one was more chilling than the last. The handwriting was different each time, but the message was the same. "I see you. I know where you are. I'm always near." How did he know? How had he been watching me all this time? I thought I was going crazy. I was so scared, I didn't even want to go to bed. Every creak, every whisper felt like it was him, lurking, watching, waiting. The police tried to investigate, but there was no trace of Mr. Graves. No evidence, no sign of where he had gone. They thought I might have imagined it, or that maybe he'd moved away, but I knew the truth. Mr. Graves hadn't just been a neighbor. He had been something far worse, and I had been living in his sights the entire time. I don't know where he is now. I don't know if he's still out there watching me. But I can't stop looking over my shoulder, waiting for the day he comes back.